Hi everyone. Today we're talking to Gal Fontyn from WalkMe, and we want to talk about the skills of the future, whether it's post-COVID-19 or even further into the next century. But Gal, let's get started with you telling us a little bit more about yourself.
So as you said, I'm Gal. I'm currently leading the demand generation at WalkMe. Been for around 8 years in the industry, have an e-commerce background, and some diverse experiences in other jobs. Yeah, that's it.
Very cool. So a few weeks ago, I saw something you posted on LinkedIn that was really interesting. You asked the community what they think the skills of the future are going to be, specifically post Corona and everything that's going on right now. And I'm really curious to know what you saw after you posted that. What do people think are the most valuable skills?
Yeah, so first of all, I mean, I was genuinely curious to see what people would have to say, and this is something that I'm trying to figure out for myself. I think that this is definitely a turning point, and I think that the economy and then the entire workforce is going to start behaving a bit differently. So I just wanted to kind of see what people think. The most common answers that I got were adaptability. People talked about communication skills, and a lot of people talked about being very, let's call it, effective and target oriented.
So very focused on what they're doing. Okay.
Yeah, it was very interesting, just, as a side note, to see how people are in, uncharted territories. It's super difficult for them to kind of take themselves out of the situation and really look at the future with no biases. And so a lot of people were kind of trying to predict what's going to be needed in the future, but then they were applying the current situation on that. For me personally, I think that, as things will shift and will be less predictable, then creativity is going to be big. People who are able to come up with new ideas, new functions, new jobs, and find opportunities at every kind of corner that they look at. Second thing is people who are strong, autodidactic, would make headway. If you can learn new skills on your own very fast, and if you're not worried about taking on new challenges, then you'll be very well positioned. And then the last thing is definitely, I think, effective remote communication. People who are able to create that sense of closeness with others, even though that it's remote, but in the same time be effective, be very clear. These are the people who can be successful.
Yeah,
That's
which is
my
essentially leadership skills, because it's not about do you know how to use software to actually engage remotely, but can you affect people? Can you influence them in a positive way, even though you're not there to constantly monitor them or tell them what to do, which I agree will probably be very important. In general, everything you mentioned, those are all soft skills, and they can apply to any profession. So the question that comes up is, how can you be proactive? How can you start learning how to use those skills, or how to develop them, actually? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah, so first of all, I think that it's a mindset, and people who will be open to kind of, pushing themselves and developing themselves would have to challenge themselves as well. You grow from that. So I think if you never really had an experience of learning on your own, I would recommend taking a couple of online courses and finishing them, properly.
Yep.
One more thing that I think could be very helpful is if you take on a new software, a new solution that you're using for anything, and learn it on your own completely. Play around with it and just kind of make sure that you're getting to that competency completely on your own. And then I think that for communication skills, this current time is actually a huge opportunity. I would say that you could just jump on a few Zoom calls with people that you don't know, and you can use that, for networking or whatever. But in the same time, you'll be practicing that one-on-one remote conversation, and practice makes perfect. So.
Yeah, I agree. And with this specific example, you can then circle back to those people and ask, did you understand the story that I told you? Like, do you remember if I was effective in explaining what I do and so forth? So you can actually circle back and get feedback. And that way, if you're improving with all these conversations. But I agree. I think that sorry.
No, I'm just going to say that one more thing that you can do. You can simply record these conversations, and then later on you can watch it and you can do your own kind of critique and see what you've done well, what you haven't done well. When you're in the conversation, things feel differently. And then when you kind of look back at it, you can find those little things, and then you can work on that.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. This is great. Very actionable things that people can go and do today. And what I wanted to say is just being aware is the first step. I think a lot of people don't necessarily think about soft skills and the fact that they need to work on them and develop them, and they can become better. So just knowing about it and then seeking the information and doing small things, even within your workplace right now, like communications, like leadership skills, is definitely something that people can start doing today. So
Sure.
I guess one last question, and I ask everyone this question. What is one thing you wish you knew earlier in your career? What advice would you give your younger self?
Emails are not a conversation, I think. And, to be more careful with what I write and how I write it, because people don't always read your emails the way that you kind of read it in your mind. I think that's a lesson that I've learned the hard way multiple times, by the way. But yeah.
Yeah, we've all been there, sending that email with all caps because our head was somewhere else. No, that's perfect. Thank you so much, Gal, for all the information. And hopefully, people can take something out of this and start implementing right away and start thinking about soft skills, because I think we agree that this is the future of work. You're going to have these skills, even beyond your professional or technical skills, if you want to succeed in the economy, to be honest.
True. Couldn't agree more. So thanks a lot for having me, and I wish that everyone stays healthy and this thing goes over pretty quick.
Yeah, same here. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Maya.